Welcome to I Could Never, a show all about non-monogamy and the many ways it can look. I'm Genevieve from Chill Polyamory on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. And I'm joined as always by my co-host and partner, Ishik.
Yes, I'm the coolest kid on the block. My name is Ishik. What's going on?
That's what they say, yeah.
Yeah. Well, our viewers will notice that it's not just Genevieve and it's not just me. We're also joined today by Dean Spade in person.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being here today.
I'm
Dean.
so glad to be here. It's really fun to come to your house and meet your dogs and hang out in here.
Yeah,
In a special tent.
In our lovely blanket fort.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Well, for anyone who's not familiar with Dean, what the fuck is wrong with you? But also, Dean is a wonderful author, activist, and also the host of his own podcast, named after his newly released book, Love in a Fucked Up World. So if you like podcasts, you can go check it out after this one.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to be talking a lot more with Dean about his love and his relationships and relationship to non-monogamy. But before we get to that, we first have to go somewhere else in person. A tesseract dimension where time and space falls away and all meaning becomes meaningless. It's Viber Event time.
It's Viber Event time.
You're like, meaningless. I don't love that. Well, you do.
For anyone who is new here, we start every show with a little icebreaker called Viber Event, where we go around and each of us says something that we're either vibing about this week, that we're happy about, or something that pisses us off or frustrates us that we need to vent about. So
I'm starting today.
You're going first?
Yes, your hesitation has
swooped in on me.
Swooped in. It's mine now. I am vibing. I'm big vibing today. I went to a Polyam meetup last night, talking to cool people, talking to this cute guy for like 2 hours about live action role playing. It was great. We're almost certainly going to be at least like board game buddies, so that's going to be fun.
At least.
And that was great, and I enjoyed that. That's only part of the vibe. The actual vibe was at the end of the event. I was somebody came up to me and she introduced herself. She was visiting from London. Yeah, she's a fan of the podcast. So hey, Lisa, how's it going? Yeah, that was so awesome. It was so exciting. I've, for the most part, always been behind the scenes with a lot of Genevieve's content and stuff like that. So I've not really had the experience of having somebody approach and say, oh my God, I love the work that you do. And it's especially in the face of, we were talking a lot about the first episode of the season and speaking about how emotional it was and how impacting it was. And so it's really rewarding to know that when you are vulnerable like that it, like, seeing the impact it has on a person really warmed my heart, and it makes it all worth it, right? All the insecurity and all the difficulty of being open and being vulnerable and sharing our life and my experiences and stuff like that. It all becomes instantly worth it. So that was awesome, and I'm super vibing about it still. So anyways, Dean, are you vibing or are you venting today?
I'm vibing, really just about hanging out with you all. Like, it's just we've just had dinner together, and it's just like really fun to be around people who have like a very deep collaboration and a partnership and like are doing that very consciously, and to like feel how caring you are towards each other while like carrying the load of like the logistics of a podcast and all the other stuff you do. I don't know, it's really cool, and like you're so open about what you're trying in your relationship and in your work together, and it's a kind of generosity to like share about your lives with me. So I'm really having a great time.
That's sweet. Yay.
Yeah. It gives me a lot of faith too.
Wow.
And just like relationality in general when I'm around people who are working on it in a way that is clearly joyful,
Thank you.
Thank
Yeah.
you. And it's been super awesome to hang out with you too. It was really, really awesome dinner. And yeah, I hope that we get another chance maybe before you go. I don't know. I know you're super busy, so it's fine. Cool. Well, Genevieve.
Well, so I had a vent planned, but both of you are so cute and so happy, but I'm still going to vent about it. It's just not really, I'm not upset right now, but it was something that has been frustrating me, like in general. And it's kind of speaking to what you're talking about, is the inverse of people who are not really doing this consciously. I didn't go to the polyamory meetup, but you just told me about it.
Yeah.
And apparently there was somebody there that was like kind of guru vibes, And I was like, let me guess. Okay. Let me guess the archetype. A white man in his 30s or 40s. He has a ponytail and he has like 1 to 2 thin white women with him. And he speaks very softly. And he was like, yeah, all of
Literally
it.
every single one of those was true. It was like 100%.
I see the archetype where like and I think what frustrates me, well, one, being somebody who's like recovered from a cult environment and knowing the way that someone can be like appear soft but gather power over people and manipulate them but not seem like they're being harsh or authoritarian about it, but like really start to seep in an insidious way. That was a bit of my experience. So my spidey sense goes off where I'm just like, nobody listen to this person. I just, so I have a really acute like sense of that. But also there's so many cute, sweet people that just are wanting support, wanting to know, wanting to be like, I don't know, you seem like you have the answers. And if anybody seems like they have the answers and misuses that for their own benefit or like uses it even just to boost their own ego, I fucking hate it. I hate it so much. I only want, like, if somebody comes to me, I only want to be curious about them, of service to them, not act like I know what's best for them. But trust that somewhere in there, they know what's best for them. Let's go find it together, So the empowering of people who are newer so that they feel confident, so then they can go help people, right? That's the difference, where somebody who wants to put themselves in a guru role wants to have all the power and keep you thinking that you can't do this on your own. So fuck that. If this is ringing any bells for anybody, you're not crazy. That's a thing. And protect yourself. Watch out for yourself. That's my little PSA.
And I'll also add, like, I think the contrast of having that interaction with somebody who is feigning a level of expertise or authority is so contrasted with the experience of actually speaking to people who have a lot of knowledge and wisdom about how to operate. Case in point, speaking with you, and like when I went to the talk you gave that we met at, it's so direct and clear and not filled with kind of empty air wisdom, as you might call it.
Thanks for saying that.
Well, with that, that definitely nestles itself very well into the topic of the podcast and a lot of what we talk about. So I'd love to hear and just get kind of started off with what your interpersonal relationships look like in terms of love, sex, romance. Yeah, tell us about your non-monogamy.
Wow, it's so funny. I didn't somehow anticipate this question. Yeah, I was in more open relationships, like maybe in parts of my 20s when I'm 48. So it was like a little less visible, the culture around that at that time. More people I knew were monogamous, but there was also some polyamory, especially amongst queers. And then I entered a relationship in my early 30s and we were monogamous for 11 years. And then we opened our relationship. We were trying to open our relationship in late 2019 and then COVID hit. So we paused that. I live in a household in Seattle with this boyfriend and then 2 people who are like non-blood, like sisters to me, who are a couple, and then their kids. We're living all there during that period. At the time, we had one dog that me and my boyfriend had, but it's the whole family's dog, and we all share it and whatever. But my boyfriend had gotten the dog, and we decided to get another dog as a surprise for one of the kids for his birthday in March. And so we joked that we had been paused on becoming non-monogamous. We were making the dog become non-monogamous because he was like, what is going on? Why is there another dog here? So anyway, it was like he didn't get to choose. But yeah, so then we didn't end up like actually being able to open our relationship more actively and with people in real life and stuff until after there were vaccines. I think we benefited from the fact that neither of us were like motivated by like one person that we wanted to connect with. It wasn't like one or the other of us was leading. We'd both been in open relationships in the past. We had been to couples counseling at different times, but we also went to a couples counselor specifically to talk this through and to like talk about what our own goals for our own sexual expression or like relational experiences were. also talking about like how do we want to support each other in like the sensations that might come up around jealousy. And I definitely like was more worried about my own jealousy than he was. I just like have that experience more than he had in his life or whatever. And it was like so helpful to like in therapy, like, mentally imagine it and bring on the feeling and work through it with the therapist and, like really like practice beforehand and make a plan of like what would be useful if that sensation arrives. And, just like it was just really supported.
11 years. Who brought it up? Like when you were bringing it up again, and how did that get brought up?
It is so funny that I don't remember.
Oh.
I don't know. It was what I would say. I remember when I read, maybe it was Polysecure. I think in that book she has like this chart. How exclusive is your relationship, like emotionally, sexually, socially? And I was like, oh yeah, our relationship is really non-exclusive. Even when it was sexually exclusive, it was very non-exclusive. We have close friends. We go on a trip with a best friend. We do so many things that some people only do with a partner, with so many different friends, have a sleepover, like, so many things. So I think our relationship had a porousness that made it like, yeah, there was no shock. There was no moment of someone confessing I can't even remember. So anyway, yeah, so our relationship has been open. And in that time, I've like formed other connections as well. And he has as well. And some of them are more serious and some of them are less serious.
Can you speak more to that then? I would love to know a bit more about like what those other relationships might look like. Yeah.
So I think I have a lot of follow through. Like I'm a person who often like, like we have a nice encounter and then we like stay in touch. You know what I mean? To some degree. I mean, obviously not all the time. I am gay, but I like having a shorter encounter as well. But like I think that like some of that is like community through promiscuity kind of like stuff, like I feel like I want a kind of promiscuity in friendship and in whatever kinds of encounters. And I think that that is like visible in like the context I've had in the 4 or 5 years since we opened our relationship. Like so many people remain like friends or ongoing lovers or dates or, you know what I mean? Like the kind of different, as I just have a tendency to be curious about people in a way that I also see in both of you, and like a kind of interest in, going deep politically and about like relational work and whatever.
What are the like interactions between various partners and each other, to the degree that there are any? Like, do any of your people know each other? How do they interact? Have there ever been any issues with that?
Yeah, I am not like as into the kind of kitchen table version that some of my friends are into, where it's like if we're dating and you meet a new lover, I go and meet them. Like that is, I have a more like, I don't know why I would need to meet your lovers or you need to meet mine unless we are actually all going to the same party or whatever. You know what I mean? A kind of more like if it comes up organically type of person. And often it doesn't if people are in different scenes or different places. But if it does, it feels okay to me. I don't know. I'm actually kind of like the separateness. It's part of my autonomy that I get to like be in different spaces and have different kinds of connections and not. And I think I also have a little bit of like self-consciousness of like being seen interacting with them all at once seems like kind of heavy. You know what I mean? Like the way that I am when I'm with you as my lover might be different than the way I am with you as my lover. And, just like I would do it if we needed to all be in the same place. But it's not like I'm like, I can't wait to like navigate that, and figure out who to touch and stand with how and whatever,
Yeah, we can be different versions of ourselves with different people. And so then if it's all in the same room, it can be like I'm glitching a little bit. Yeah.
You very briefly mentioned the living situation at the time when you got the dog and for the kids. So I'd love to hear a little bit more detail about that situation. Is that still your living situation? Has that fluctuated over time? Yeah.
So like in a queer family, like the people in my family are like this lesbian couple. One of them I've been close with since I was a little kid. Our moms were like single moms who like shared childcare with us. And then she moved away for a while when we were kids. And then she moved back when we were in high school, and we like reconnected. And both of us, I was living with foster parents and she was living with like her mom's friend. And so we were both kind of living like not with parents, and we became really close again. And then have stayed super close. And then she met her girlfriend in college. So we've all been super close. And like my ex-boyfriend was the sperm donor for their kids, who we all planned together. And we all really like formed this close family. And it took us a while of different people like moving and going to school and having jobs till we could like live in the same city together. So when the kids were like 5 and 8, we finally like started living together in the same house, me and them, and then my boyfriend at the time, who's still my boyfriend, not the one who was the sperm donor. For me, I lost my family context as a young person and was in foster care and stuff. And so to like form a family group that was really affirming and stable was really healing for me. And to have real relationships. Another thing about us is we all lived together, of course, during the COVID lockdown period. So many people's relationships struggled so much. I think ours struggled a little bit less because there were more people for all the dynamics to bounce off of. Like there were 4 adults. So I didn't feel like I was trapped in a couple with my boyfriend in the ways that some people I think felt trapped during that period of less socializing. I don't know. I think it was like good for the off-gassing of all of the stresses of that, the unknowns of that period. And I think that's just more generally typical, like managing a house together with 4 adults instead of 2 or 1. And yeah, I feel really, I never want to have kids. And so it's really amazing to get to be in that kind of close connection with kids without being a parent.
I think often people will ho-hum, sometimes reasonably, about the logistics of dating additional people and bringing additional people around while managing child responsibilities and stuff. Has that ever presented any issues?
The thing is, like, as I mentioned, we have always been so socially promiscuous. So there's just like always a million people in and out of our house, a million people sleeping over, in our basement extra bed. There's just like, I just think there's like nothing that could surprise anyone who lives in that house about who might be around and when they might come in. It's just like, that's our house is a community space where a lot of people come by and get things and drop things off and borrow things and sleep over. Lots of people coming through town, friends from all over coming through town. And like, I think this is something a lot of people I know want, would be to be able to have kids and have other adults around who were solid and steady. Like some of the things that were really cool, like when the kids were really young, if the moms went away, the kids could keep their same routine and me and my boyfriend could be there holding it. And so the moms, I think, had more flexibility than oftentimes parents have when their kids are young. And like they could also have like one of them like loves to go out late dancing at night. And like we could just like there was more adults around. So there was just more possibility of like those kids' moms not being like as locked down into a certain kind of domesticity as is typical with parenting. And I think a lot of people I know would love to have kids with more adults, but people I think are not very willing to commit to their friendships, Like, yeah, we didn't move away. We stayed there. You know what I mean? Like I think a lot of people just like don't commit to their friend. They commit to a lover that way, but not to a friendship. And, our friendship is a family, but it's not a blood relationship or a legal relationship. It's like we just really hardcore committed to our friends.
One of the things that really jumped out to me when you were describing how you were emotionally processing this decision to open up, there already wasn't this exclusivity and this kind of intertwinedness that I think a lot of people who are practicing monogamy might experience in their relationship, probably lending to a lot of the already like practiced work and theory and ideas and ideology around interpersonal interaction and whatever. You definitely sound like you had a lot of the skills and thinking already in place for that to not be as jarring. Do you feel like that's true, or am I reading too much into that?
The part of the reason we chose each other as boyfriends is because we both had like a great interest in like emotional work and relational work on ourselves, and had been doing that kind of work. Like that was part of the draw into the relationship to begin with. And we both had been like in messy relationships and done things we thought were messed up. And part of the reason we wanted to try monogamy is because we were both like, wow, we both were coming out of, we felt some messy late 20s stuff where it'd been like, wow, I don't know if I want to put this much into focusing on sexual relationships right now and all like having a lot of entanglement and complexity. Maybe I want to try something a little more peaceful for a moment and see if I can build a stronger base with someone. So I think that, and also look at my own behavior and motivation. So we did come to the relationship that way. But I was really scared about the jealousy. And I just want to, say that I think that like the title of your podcast, I Could Never, is very much like what a lot of people say about, I hear people say that about opening their relationships. And I think jealousy is a really scary feeling. Like jealousy says, I am intolerable. Actually, it's just a feeling like any other feeling. It arises and passes away. But when it's happening, it's saying to me, oh my God, Dean, stop whatever is causing this feeling. There's no other feeling that tells me that quite as strongly, you know? And so that's real. It's a lot to like willingly walk into situations where I might have a sensation like that, you know? And I've learned so much about working with strong sensations from this practice.
Did you experience that kind of jealousy? Was there a time you had that kind of jealousy in monogamy?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, 100% can come up in monogamy, and it did sometimes come up. It has sometimes come up in my monogamous connections, including in that one. But I think that monogamy is the illusion of control over that. You know, like every bad thing that can happen to you in an open relationship can happen to you in a monogamous one. People can be attracted to other people. They can leave you. They can cheat. You can leave them. You can fall in love with other people. You can start to not like them. All of it. But monogamy I think, provides an illusion of stability and control.
Do you remember the first time that one of you went on a date and like what your experience was and how you handled that?
Yeah. If that sensation came over me, like when my boyfriend came back from a date or something, it was really important not to talk it through. Because I was going to try to talk and come up with like, going to try to rationalize the feeling. Could be through criticizing him or who knows what. I just was like, let's just lay in bed and be close physically. Like, just hold on to me. Remind me that you're here. And it really helped. And a hookup from somebody from the internet who you don't have any other real interest in. For me, that was like the lightest weight jealousy. Yeah. And then I think over time, when things got harder, like when it was people in our own community who I would be seeing around or things like that, or when it was more sustained relationships, I just really work with this idea that this is a sensation that will arise and pass away.
Is there a specific tool that you'll reach for in those moments as a way to reground yourself back in your ideals that you feel like would be helpful for somebody who's struggling with that?
Yeah, there are two tools I put in the book. One is I put a tool called mad mapping that I learned from the Icarus Project, or also known as the Fireweed Collective, which is a tool where like basically if you know something makes you like go mad, like if you know something makes you like, have a very strong state. When you're not in that state, you make a map for yourself. Things I should and shouldn't do when I go into that state. Songs I should and shouldn't listen to. Requests I should and shouldn't make of others. You can even show someone else your mad map. Hey, this is what happens to me when I do this. Don't let me do this, or please do this. Please say this to me. Please don't say this to me. It can be something you share with others. It can be something you keep for yourself. Like this is like the game board I'm going to play on if this thing comes up. I don't want to do this again. I mean, I've had students where I've been like, make a mad map for the exam period. And they're like, don't only eat pizza, or like, don't drink a bunch of alcohol the night before the exam. Whatever it is, they need to remember that they did wrong last time. People make also in my book, I talk about making a dating plan where you're like, okay, Dean, like next time I wouldn't go on a 3-month-long visit with the first time I visit my new partner who I only met online or whatever,
Did that happen?
No, it's extremely but whatever it is you learned from last time, right? So a mad map is one option. The other tool I have in the book that I think is really useful for any strong state, including jealousy, is called What Else Is True. Basically it's an image of a small circle inside a big circle. In the small circle, you write the thing you're obsessing over. So like something that you're not sleeping, it could be like, I'm just thinking about like you're out on that date with that other person, or it could be a fight you're having at work or whatever. Whatever it is you're obsessing over, something that's making you lose sleep, something that you're just thinking about a lot. Basically, you're getting this tunnel vision and you want to remember what else is true. And so the first time you do these two circles in the outside, what else is true, you write what else is true about the other person. So like right now I'm just so obsessed, like Ishik is out on this date and like leaving me and whatever. And then I'm like, okay, what else do I know? Ishik is committed to me in these ways, or is kind in these ways, or wants to have a connection like this. And I'm hoping for that for you, whatever it is. The second time you write in the small circle what you're obsessing on, the big circle, what is it I don't know about this situation? Like, am I making up a story? Which we usually are. If we're obsessing, we're making up a bunch of content. I don't really know what that text from Ishik actually meant because it was a text. I might have read the tone wrong, like whatever. What do I not know? And the third time, small circle, what I'm obsessed with, Ishik is out on this date, whatever. Big circle, what else is true about me in my life? What other sources of support do I have? What are things am I excited about for myself? What else is going on for me that I need support on? Whatever. And the whole point of this is like, instead of telling yourself, stop feeling that big feeling, you're just adding context, because it doesn't work when you're like, stop feeling like that. That does not, no. But what else? What else too? And that tool, I think, can can bring us down a little bit from that fixation. And then there's another step of it where you write on the left side of a piece of paper everything that's like my responsibility that I can control, and on the right side everything that I can't. And so on the left side might be like, I can have a good dinner tonight, I can try to get some sleep, I can tell Ishik that I'd like a hug, whatever it is. And on the right side I write, what other people think of me, can't ever control that, what's going to happen between other people, outcomes, the future, rip it in half, flush, burn, whatever that side, focus on what's my side of the street, as we say. And then the final part of the exercise is you just like ask yourself some questions about like, is this bringing up any historical feelings, like feelings from my family, other moments in my life? And can I take care of those parts? Can I recognize that I'm bringing something? Like with jealousy, a lot of us are bringing like experiences of abandonment. I bring that. I carry that with me. That happened to me. Can I care for that part of Dean by looking at pictures from childhood, or making myself a meal that I loved when I was a kid, or talking to a supportive friend, or taking a nap, or whatever? Just that's like, I recognize I bring something to this and I care about that part and those things. And it's a little bit about my emotional responsibility for myself, and also about softness. I'm not mad at myself for having a strong experience. Everyone's having them. You may not see it when you look around the world, but everybody's having them. Now I'm having one of mine. I'm caring about it, and I'm trying to keep some perspective on it too.
I love the like compassionate way that you're adding more. The more people, more love, more. I've had that when jealous as well, of just like, oh, right, even if my worst fear were to come true, even if this relationship were to end, I also have all of this, and I'm still going to have all of this. And that can be grounding to be like, this is not my whole world. Mentioning that it's still something that comes up for you. Just in case anybody hears that and is like, oh no, for years and years, well, I struggled just like I'm struggling today. Have you noticed progress? Have you noticed change in like frequency or intensity of it?
Yeah, I think it doesn't last as long when it comes up. And I also notice I can acclimate to something. A new form of stimulation, a lover is seeing someone new or in a new way or something. And then I can be like, this is so painful and difficult for me at first. And then later it can be totally neutral, the same stimulation. And that's so beautiful that like the human being is so adaptable, even to things that feel sharp at the beginning. Like jealousy, like wants me to do things like try to control, like try to get a bunch of information. And I'm just like, I'm not doing it. Like jealousy has like operating instructions that are a bad idea and will make me feel worse. So I'm like, I just don't do them. And one of those things is this is actually probably a little bit unusual. I don't prefer to know a lot about my dates, because like if we're dating and you go on like 3 or 4 sex dates a week or whatever, or you're going to see your long-term lover, like every one of those contacts might be for me a bit of dysregulation. And I'm like, I was just in the middle of my day and about to do a podcast episode, and then you texted me this thing, and now I'm like kind of spinning out, but have to act cool because I'm about to do this work, and I'm constantly going into some, difficult task or whatever, right? And so I'm just like, please tell me less. Like, I don't need extra spit outs. We all know what's going on. It's not as if I'm living in like a fantasy that we're monogamous. So that's been really helpful. And sometimes you need to know, or like, you're like, I'm going away with them for 2 weeks. And I'm like, okay, tell me, but like, I don't need the play by play, because I don't need all those nervous system spikes, because my nervous system does that with this material, even though it doesn't need to. And I know that it's not a logical thing. And so I just try to take care of it by being like, how much of this exposure do I want? And then how can I be really careful and practicing when it does come up? Because I never want to act it out on others. That's my biggest fear, is that I will hurt others with a jealousy inspired comment or action. So I'm just like, I need to take care of myself when it's happening, ask for support if that's possible and appropriate. They can say yes or no. Also, that's a consensual thing. And not really like have more exposure to it than I really need.
I've heard the term some ask, some tell, of like, tell me what's relevant to me. Tell me what would be an unpleasant surprise, and deciding, because sometimes people are like, I don't know how much I want to know. I'm like, well, what would you be upset if you found out as a surprise? That you can work backwards from there. If something's dysregulating and there's not really work to be done on it, it's just stress or fear or anxiety that you're like, you could have told me after you slept with them and then I'd be fine. I think that's really great. And like everybody just has their own lines and limits, which can evolve too.
Your question also brought up for me, like, what are people afraid of when they're jealous? Like some people are afraid they'll be replaced or afraid they're being lied to, or, there can be specific kind of grabs. And some of those things do happen, right? Like someone really likes someone a lot, or someone downplayed something about what's happening. That stuff sometimes came up between me and my boyfriend. I write about it a little bit in the book, an instance of him lying about something, and like the process of learning to both have a boundary and be like, you can't lie to me, and also have compassion for why people with trauma sometimes lie, and being able to be like, you're not a bad person. This is actually a pretty normal coping mechanism. I'm not okay with it, but I don't need to make up a big story about how horrible you are, because you're just not. He was in his stuff. I think a lot of people who lie because they as kids had intrusive parents who didn't give them privacy, or who tried to control them a lot, or it can be a way to survive when you don't have enough autonomy in your childhood, which many people I know didn't, and especially people who are queer or trans or have other circumstances that made their parents intrusive and controlling to try to make them not be some way. Whatever things were triggering in his life, he lied about something related to our safer sex practices, and it turned out it was something that like I didn't care about. Like I would have been fine just changing it, just being like, oh, let's not do that agreement anymore. But it was really not okay with me that he lied. And so it was really destabilizing, and stressful. I could be pissed. I was angry and upset and like, this is not okay. And I won't be in a relationship where lying is part of it. Like, you're lying to me about something that doesn't even matter. Come on. Okay. What is it going to take for you to stop doing this? We talked about what that would be, like what kinds of things he thought he needed, seeing a specific kind of therapist who helps with things like that, or what's going on, what's leading to this. I needed him to have an account of why he was doing it. I needed him to have insight about why this had happened, so I could trust, like, okay, he gets it and he's working on not doing it again. But I didn't need to be like, he's a liar. Do you know what I mean? When people just wholesale, to be able to like have an experience that confirmed a fear of mine, and then still recover and repair and be like, actually, this person's okay. My safety comes from myself and my own boundaries and support system. So even when the scary thing happens, I'm still safe. Before this, we had an experience where he was dealing with alcohol addiction for the first 7 years of our relationship. And then in the course of him getting sober, I remembered all these times when like bad thing had happened related to drinking, and it just felt like we never resolved the thing, and then we went on. Or then he would do it again, and I'd be like, this is just like the other times. And he was like, what other times? That kind of thing, which was like, I think can be part of a pattern of behavior like that. And so I had all these memories of just bad things that had happened. And we were in therapy, and basically we did a process where I brought them all up one at a time. And each time he repeated back to me like that he heard it. And I could see that he was actually getting it. And it allowed me to let them go. It was a remarkable experience to be like, oh, they really went away. He stopped doing this, and he sees that he did it, and he's really sorry. I think almost nobody in our culture experiences actual apology and repair in important relationships. You don't get to do it with your blood family usually, because they're not on the same level, or you don't get to do it with, lovers you break up and leave, or jobs you get treated badly, you leave, And so it was profound. I think that repeated practice with repair. And I also think now, having that experience with somebody for all these years, I could be more forgiving or have forms of repair with other people who, in any of my relationships, who go into their stuff and make mistakes. Like, I don't have to overreact, because I know I have friends to lean on. He can see that my reality, I don't have to like beat down his door and tell everyone in the community what a bad person he is, or, you know what I mean? Because I'm grounded in like enough relationships and enough sense of myself to assess like, okay, should I stay in this or not? And like, under what conditions,
So often when we are talking to people, or when we are kind of musing about the nature of connection and relationship, we get onto the topic of community, and organizing and stuff like that. And we will stress to listeners, to viewers, how important it is to engage in community, how, and trying to talk about the most basic of steps of like, go talk to your neighbor, talk to the people like, in shared space, or in shared work, or what have you, right? And we are constantly met with these questions and comments and requests for topics and stuff about like how do community, there being an understanding from the audience of this connection between the interpersonal and then this larger organizing that is desperately needed all the time, but especially in the current times and the coming times. And so what I love so much about your work is it really is showing and illustrating that bridge.
I recently interviewed Miriam Kaba on my podcast, and she said this idea that I thought was really useful. She said that she feels like there's a conciergification happening in our culture, especially with like the beginning of COVID and the lockdown, the kind of turn a lot of people made towards like Uber Eats and like ordering everything online and living through your phone. That was, forced by that in some ways for some people that by that initial period. Kind of, it's an antisocial economy in which you avoid all non-smoothed interactions and you live through technology that anticipates your needs in a consumer way. And it's very unsustainable, like 1,000 ways, like for the environment and, financially people, I think, can't really afford it and whatever. But I think it builds this fear of others.
Yeah, it's a line that I've been seeing circulating. Community is inconvenient. And I'm not going to like every person, and they'll be different ages than me, and they'll be different, backgrounds than me, and to try to understand them.
And also we are trying to recruit people to our liberation movements and convince them that their liberation is with ours. We want to have those pathways to everybody instead of having like a preset, like if you don't already think all the same things I think and, are part of all the same subcultures I'm part of, I can't bear to be with you. It's just not workable. And I really want to support as many people as possible to reduce suffering of people in crisis. So I want to become, with every passing year, more able to meet more kinds of people in more moments, like things that used to freak me out too bad. I want to be able to be like, I'm staying with you. Doesn't mean I'll do anything you want, but like, I trust myself enough to be with you in this, even though you're different than me in some way and you're in a certain state.
Kind of speaking to from my own experience, right? I'm sober like 13 years and I've been in plenty of rooms of AA with people I would not associate with outside of that space, right? That does not mean that they can't help me, that I can't help them, that we can't help each other and support each other, right? And I think, God, I wish that was something that was better understood by more people.
Like being compassionate to ourselves. Like, sometimes you meet someone and you want to run screaming. Just certain personalities, certain things. What is it? It's, it's unconscious stuff from childhood. It's all, who knows? It's all kinds of things. And can I just be like, oh, look, I'm having that reaction and I don't have to respond to it. I can listen to it. Is there any wisdom here? Doesn't mean I want to like get super involved with you right away, but can I just be less rigid?
Yeah.
I mean, again, I think it's just another extension of why I think your work is so important, because if you're a fucking dick and people don't like being around you, that movement's not going to grow. You're not going to organize shit. Nobody's going to be there because you're obnoxious. And if you're gatekeeping and saying you have to have already had X amount of knowledge or growth as a baseline to enter into this space, again, that is not creating a pathway for people to join, right?
Or, as you have seen, some people will join. And that's also scary, right? Like a lot of people do try to build political groups by being bossy or by being manipulative. And that's hard. A lot of us have actually been in groups and spaces that were supposed to be for liberation, whether it was a spiritual community or a political community, that were run on patriarchy, that were run on, some people being passive observers. And we are trained more in that. We have more training in either bossing people around or being bossed than we do in actually creating a collaborative space. So a lot of what my work is all of my work is like, what does it take to make groups that can build these skills in us? Because we don't have them. Most of us come into the group, we don't know how to make decisions without having somebody be the boss or having a bunch of people get pushed out. We don't know how to have conflict that doesn't feel like you're wrong or I'm wrong, you're bad or I'm bad. But we could actually learn it together. We learned of the bad habits in groups, schools, families, etc., churches, whatever. We can actually grow these connective habits, which I think also are like inherent in us in some ways, but are very pushed down by this antisocial society and this hierarchical society. A lot of what my work is about is we think we're here to like make these meals and deliver them on Fridays to the blah, 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 or to drop these banners or to organize these demos. But we're also here to turn each other into people who can be in a long-term sustained struggle together and show solidarity under immense pressure. So we need to build those skills too, not just like how to make a really good muffin or a really great banner. And people get very focused on outcomes because we live in capitalism. So it's like how many muffins, how many banners, instead of like, did people come and stay? Did we welcome newcomers? Did people learn new skills? Like all those, did we weather the storm of somebody getting really upset in the group or multiple people getting upset? Did we get feedback and respond to it and address issues of disability justice or Palestine solidarity or whatever it is in our group that we had been ignoring? Like that. And to do that, you got to build stuff into your meetings where you're like, we're going to do a little feedback training. We're going to talk about, like you got to build it in. And a lot of my like online workshops and videos and stuff in the mutual aid book are about like how to actually do this in a group, no matter who's in the group, like how to do that skill building so that the group is more sustainable.
I've been asked lately by several different people in different contexts, when a community is tight-knit, and especially that's for like a lot of like queer communities and stuff, and you break up with someone but then they're still at the parties, they're still at the events. And it's not that there's maybe hostility, though sometimes that can happen, but just like dealing with the ache of a breakup. And in non-monogamy, maybe you're seeing your ex with their other partner in front of you. Like, have you ever experienced that, or what do you say to people who might struggle with holding that?
Yeah, it's painful. A lot of this is about like taking space to grieve. A mistake I see people make, I think a lot, is trying to skip the experience of breakup. So if we break up, I'm sad to no longer be lovers with you, but I want to instantly just be the same amount friends. And I just want, it's like our dynamics are not going to change quickly like that. So what I see happen a lot is we break up and that was really hard, but we don't actually treat each other like complete shit and disrupt our community until now. Now, in the weeks and months after the breakup, now is because when we were still together, we were trying to see eye to eye and trying to make it work. We were kind of being a little more generous. And now that we've chosen to really break up, and usually one or the other of us probably called it, which is hard. Now, like you're my enemy and everything you've done is so bad and so wrong. Like sometimes it can be like a super strong wave of negative projection. And that's when I might act really unethically towards you. That's when I might talk bad about you in the community or try to get you excluded from things. And if we keep interacting through that, and then I might be like asking you invasive questions about your dating life or judging you or saying barbed things, like I'm likely to be more hurtful in this period. Like sometimes it's good for people to actually take a break. And a lot of times we don't want to, because I also love you and need you and you're a huge part of my, so I just really encourage people to think about whether some communication breaks are useful. And some guidelines, even for myself, like when I see you at the party, I'm just going to hang out in the other room. Or, some people live in very small communities, as you're saying, or in small towns or work in the same realm or whatever. How to take responsibility for my well-being and not try to put a bunch of rules on you. That usually doesn't work very well. You know what? I'm going to be real. I'm not going to have fun at the Halloween party. If you're there with your date, it's not appropriate for me to tell you not to be there. I should, think about a different kind of Halloween. And whether I have any friends who want to do something, maybe I want to go to the next town over or whatever, if that's possible. I don't know.
I have spoken with a lot of people who will then like stretch slowly and be like, okay, well, I didn't go to the last party. I'm going to go to this one. No idea what I'm going to feel. So I'm going to have this person on deck that I can talk to. If I start to feel hot and my heart is racing, what will I do? Maybe go for a walk, or at what point might I leave, and just sort of like feeling out the tolerance again that we're saying of just like, as there's healing or as there's distance from the breakup and recontextualizing it, that it doesn't always have to be all or nothing. We can feel out the distance, and that can also evolve as we start to feel safer. But yeah, any amount of like, I'm in charge of what I do and where I go, and not what you do and where you go, and let's not gang up on each other.
Yeah, and if I'm like if I'm wishing I could go to that party, but I don't want to go because you're going to be there, are there things I wish I could have at that experience? Like I really wanted to see these people, or I really wanted to dress up. Can I make another opportunity for that? Just like, can I feel my agency? Am I finding out that I got kind of isolated in that relationship and now I don't feel close to enough people? Okay, what's a good program for building some friendships? What kind of activities do I want to seek out in our area? You know what I mean? Like that party is not the end all be all. And sometimes we go to this place of being like, that thing that I now believe I can't have because you're there is everything. And it's just, it can just be like a lot of binaristic thinking that's not totally accurate. It's more like, okay, what's a pragmatic solution for my social needs, a reaction I'm having now to being around you sometimes, and let's find like a way forward that's maybe not ideal, but that is something. If my ideal is you disappearing off the face of the earth, that's not going to happen. We don't get, that's not an option, you know. That's the inconvenience of community. I don't get to pick who's there.
And also, just for listeners and viewers, and again, a reminder, as always, the difference between a boundary and a rule, right? What Dean was describing as a boundary. I'm going to choose to not go to that Halloween party. A rule or demand is you shouldn't go. It's like, understand that this is the difference of maybe don't use the word boundary when you say, it's my boundary that you don't go to the Halloween
or trying
party.
To get all your friends to not invite and stuff. There's kind of an overuse of exclusion a lot of the time. If someone has a behavior that's like really disruptive in the community, people can work on asking them to stop it, or like even having consequences if they don't stop it. I don't know. It's just like, I just don't think we really have a lot of options for throwing people away right now.
Dean, thank you so much for being here today. It has been an absolute pleasure to have you on the pod in general, but also specifically to have you in our home. Yeah, and going out tonight, it's been great. It's been so awesome. You're so awesome.
I wish the dogs were here with us in this.
I know. Honestly, we should have done it. If there was ever...
He would have been licking himself.
It's true.
It would have been unpleasant auditorially.
That is a really good point. Yeah. But, we'd love to let the viewers and listeners know where they can find you, what you're doing. Tell them where to go.
Great. I mean, you can find this book, Love in a Fucked Up World. I really would encourage you not to buy it on Audible or Amazon. And I just recently found out there's an alternative audiobook option called Libro.fm, where you can like buy it from a local bookstore, but it's an audiobook and it's not Audible or Amazon. So I want to tell people about that. And the podcast, Love in a Fucked Up World, wherever you get podcasts. And we also have it on YouTube if you want to watch the videos. And we started a Patreon like the week before last, in part because of my conversation with you, posting a lot more content there, including some videos of me and my 16-year-long boyfriend talking about some of these things, which might be fun, because I feel like kind of hesitant about posting some of that kind of content on like these more hostile platforms like Instagram, where I get a lot of like transphobic trolls and like Zionist trolls. And so it's really sweet to have a space that's really just for people who are actually into this stuff, where I can post different stuff and people can have different conversations. So please join our Patreon. You can do it for free if you want.
What's the Patreon?
It's like Dean Spade or whatever. Yeah.
Okay.
And I don't know.
We'll put a link in the thing.
Yeah. So I hope people will test that out. And just really grateful to you both for what you're up to. I think it's an incredible resource for people in our communities.
Thank you. And would you want to send people to your Instagram or anything?
Yeah,
like that?
Totally. I'm on Instagram and like Blue Sky and TikTok and whatever those things are called.
Just look up Dean Spade.
Just look up Dean Spade.
Yeah. I'm a Gen Xer. Now you know.
Yeah. Well, in addition to all that wonderful content, especially the stuff where it's you and your 16, 17-year-old boyfriend.
Not year old. Year. A relationship of 16 years.
16.
You're going to start rumors.
He does look very young, but he's 43 or something.
16-year-long relationship. Let's be clear. That sounds really fun and really lovely, and I think I'm going to check it out, actually. That sounds really great. And if you are looking, as always, for more non-monogamy content, Genevieve is on Instagram and TikTok at Chill Polyamory, where she talks about non-monogamy and all that great shit. And she's also on YouTube, also at Chill Polyamory, where she is doing long-form video essays about non-monogamy in film and TV.
So you can support those projects and this podcast directly on our Patreon as well, Chill Polyamory. And that's where I also have years worth of resources and tools and story times, and sort of for the same reason you were saying, it's like a safe environment to tell you the gossip and what I learned. As well, I offer one-on-one peer support, so you can go to chillpolyamory.com.
To all of our viewers and listeners, this has been I Could Never. And remember that just because you've never done something before doesn't mean that you can't do it.
Bye.